On Earth, there are danger zones so extreme that they break all normal rules, pushing human survival to its most fragile state. These are places where even breathing, walking, or standing still can become a challenge, as the world itself seems to turn against life. The power here is so overwhelming that the land can collapse, the water can pull everything away, and the air can become too hostile to endure. Meanwhile, other places remain silent and difficult to approach, as if they were almost separated from the outside world. These places are not easy to enter, as every journey is filled with dangers that can appear without warning. Strangely, life continues to rise with incredible strength, adapting to a world that constantly tries to destroy it. Would you dare to enter these lands where nature challenges all human limits? You are standing before Kilauea, a restless fire monster and one of the most active volcanoes currently existing on the surface of our entire planet today. This volcano covers 14% of Hawaii, with 90% of its surface created by eruptions during the last 1,100 violent and fiery years. In local legends, the Halemaumau crater is the sacred throne of goddess Pele, where her divine anger turns solid rock into flowing rivers of fire. Massive lava fountains once shot into the sky at 580 meters, which is 3 times higher than the famous Washington Monument in the United States. When red lava hits the ocean, it creates deadly toxic clouds of blaze, showing you a beautiful but fatal meeting between fire and the cold sea water. Do not wait for an explosion, as Kilauea destroys everything with steady and continuous flows, making it an unpredictable and terrifying force of nature for you. The Los Caracoles Pass in the Andes between Chile and Argentina unfolds like a giant stone staircase carved into a harsh mountain landscape filled with continuous hairpin turns. The road contains about 29 sharp switchbacks with no protective barriers separating vehicles from deep, vertical cliffs below. Its highest point reaches roughly 10,500 feet, placing drivers at an altitude comparable to several of the tallest buildings in major Asian cities combined. Heavy snowfall, exceeding 6 feet often, isolates traffic completely, turning the asphalt surface into a dark, frozen slide across the mountain. Long lines of freight trucks move slowly in sequence, forming a winding metallic chain across the gray, rocky terrain. Thin mountain air at extreme altitude reduces engine performance, causing vehicles to lose power and stability along exposed cliff sections. Kandinsky is not just a simple bridge, but a deadly trap hanging over the Vitim River inside the freezing and extremely remote Siberia region of Russia. This is originally an old railway bridge that was never finished, but is still used for cars despite its decaying and extremely unstable structural condition today. This iron bridge stretches for about 570 meters and hangs 15 meters above the water, making any experienced driver feel extremely nervous and terrified. The residents of Kwandar village have used this place as their only path to cross the Vitim River, instead of traveling on long and difficult detour routes. The bridge has absolutely no protective barriers, while the deck is only slightly wider than a standard car, making any small mistake very costly and fatal. This has become a challenge location for thrill seekers who want to record their crossing to prove their bravery before the very thin line of life. Never underestimate the power of the ocean unless you want to be swallowed by the massive death whirlpools located at the Saltstraumen Strait in northern Norway. With incredible water speeds reaching 37 kilometers per hour, this current creates black holes ready to crush any obstacle that stands inside its violent path. Humans have settled in this harsh land since the Stone Age, with archaeological remains dating back as far as 11,000 years from the ancient and distant past. The image of jade-green water being torn apart by fierce whirlpools creates a scene that is both hauntingly beautiful and extremely terrifying for any viewer. The force of the flow is so great that small boats are strictly forbidden from passing through when the tide reaches its highest and most dangerous levels. Although it is a paradise for professional divers, this place is definitely not meant for beginners who are looking to challenge themselves inside such extreme environments. K2 Base Camp in Pakistan sits within the harsh Karakoram Range, where expeditions move across vast ice terrain before facing one of the most dangerous mountains on Earth. At about 16,900 feet, the thin air forces the body to adjust slowly, so each movement must be carefully planned to maintain strength. This journey stands out because people must walk for days across shifting ice mixed with rock, where every step depends on observation and personal experience. The surrounding space opens into massive ice blocks and steep rock walls, making humans appear extremely small inside a vast and unstable natural structure. Temporary camps scattered on frozen ground show that human presence is short-term and fully dependent on environmental conditions. When leaving this camp, many realize the hardest challenge is not going forward, but returning safely across the same harsh terrain. Dachstein Sky Ladder in the Austrian Alps is a fragile steel rope ladder suspended between two sheer limestone cliffs high above the mountain void. The ladder stretches about 130 feet, comparable to the length of a large passenger aircraft, hanging in mid-air without any supporting pillars. From the steel steps to the valley floor below, the vertical drop feels similar to standing on the roof of a major financial skyscraper in Ho Chi Minh City. The metal structure swings continuously with each step, creating a sensation that climbers may be thrown into open space at any moment. Shining steel rungs reflect sunlight and form a narrow pathway that leads directly into dense white clouds covering the alpine peaks. Installation of the ladder was an extreme engineering challenge, requiring workers to hang in mid-air while anchoring heavy cables into solid rock faces. Mount Everest is located in the Himalaya range in Nepal and is known as the highest mountain in the world, where humans face extreme living conditions. The area containing Everest is recognized by UNESCO as a Natural World Heritage Site due to its high mountains, glaciers, deep valleys, and rare biodiversity. Above 26,000 feet, the human body weakens quickly as oxygen drops, forcing decisions to be made with limited energy and reduced awareness. The ice-covered slopes constantly shift over time, forming deep cracks that may appear or disappear after each climbing season. Without trees or familiar signs, the landscape becomes only rock, ice, and vast open space, making people clearly feel their physical limits. Weather stations installed near the summit collect data in extreme conditions, providing important information for global climate research. Mount Huashan in Shanxi province of China rises as a massive granite formation with narrow pathways clinging tightly to sheer vertical cliffs high above the ground. To reach the summit, Climbers must ascend thousands of steep stone steps, where a single slip could send a person down nearly 6,500 feet. Some sections consist of weathered wooden planks only about 1 foot wide, fixed directly into the rock face as the only passage across open air. The mountain reaches an elevation comparable to stacking several of the tallest financial skyscrapers in Vietnam directly on top of each other. Rusted iron chains provide the only handholds as travelers pass through extremely narrow paths where people must carefully squeeze past one another. Ancient Taoist monks once carved these dangerous stairways entirely by hand, using basic hammers and chisels to connect sacred peaks. The Mad Honey Cliffs, located deep in the remote mountain areas of the Himalayas in Nepal, are where one of the most dangerous jobs on Earth occurs. This is the kingdom of the giant Himalayan honeybee, which often builds massive beehives on vertical cliffs at altitudes of over 2,500 meters. The people of the Gurung community have maintained the tradition of hunting honey on these cliffs for over 2,000 years as a sacred cultural heritage. With an overwhelming height of over 300 meters, the cliffs at Lamjung create a deadly scene that challenges the courage of any brave human being. Looking from a distance, the massive beehives clinging to the rock surface appear like mysterious dark stains amidst the vast and majestic mountain forest landscape. The journey to conquer these cliffs requires you to have extraordinary physical strength, along with absolute respect for the local and ancient cultural values here. Lingpaishi Road in Chongqing City, China, unfolds as an urban illusion maze where the roadway surface rises and falls in continuous wave-like patterns that challenge drivers' perception. The unusual undulating design creates a sensation similar to repeated free falls, as if vehicles are moving across the rooftops of stacked, high-rise buildings. Each peak of the wave features steep gradients comparable to descending from a slide as tall as a 3-story structure in rapid succession. The frequency of elevation changes here is about 5 times higher than typical overpasses, producing a surreal rhythm of motion across the entire route. Passing vehicles appear and disappear rapidly behind the rolling surface, resembling boats rising and sinking in a restless ocean. The zigzag engineering design functions like gripping anchors along the mountainside, helping reduce brake failure risks on the sharply inclined terrain. Skipper's Canyon Road in Otago, New Zealand, is one of the most dangerous routes on Earth, with a single-lane track carved into a narrow ledge along steep schist cliffs. Most insurance companies refuse coverage for accidents here due to the extreme and unpredictable risks of the canyon terrain. The canyon drops to depths equivalent to stacking several major financial skyscrapers beneath the wheels of passing vehicles. Historic gold miners once worked while suspended by thin ropes, drilling and placing explosives directly into the sheer rock walls. Natural rock openings along the narrow road reveal direct views down to a turquoise river far below, with no protective barriers. Sharp hairpin bends create the illusion of vehicles floating over empty space before drivers carefully steer back along the cliff edge. Khasa, hanging bridge in the Mustang region of Nepal, stretches like a thin steel thread across one of the deepest river gorges in the world, between grey rocky cliffs. The bridge extends more than 1,100 feet in length, roughly equal to the combined length of about 3 standard football fields. From the bridge deck to the river below, the vertical drop feels comparable to stacking 2 of the tallest financial skyscrapers in Vietnam on top of each other. The walking surface is made of open steel mesh panels that allow travelers to see the fast-flowing river directly beneath their feet. High protective netting rises above head level to prevent livestock from falling into the canyon when the structure sways under heavy movement. The suspended cable system often resonates and twists like a giant hammock when groups of animals cross the bridge in large numbers. Hussaini Hanging Bridge in the Hunza Valley of Pakistan stretches across a raging river like a fragile web suspended between sharp, snow-covered mountain peaks. The bridge extends about 650 feet and is built from rusted steel cables and widely spaced wooden planks with gaps reaching over a foot between steps. Positioned at an elevation of roughly 8,500 feet, crossing it feels like walking above a stack of several major skyscrapers combined. Beneath the structure, the river flows with extreme force, capable of sweeping away large boulders in moments directly under the walker's feet. The simple suspension design lacks protective railings, causing the bridge deck to sway and twist noticeably with every movement across its length. Broken cables from older sections still hang beside the bridge, serving as a constant reminder of the raw power of the surrounding natural environment. Hidden within Shan State in Myanmar, Inle Lake, floating villages reveal a world where water becomes the foundation supporting homes, gardens, and the rhythm of daily human life. People travel by boat through narrow water routes as the living space replaces streets with a surface that constantly shifts depending on changing water levels. Floating gardens are built from vegetation and mud, secured with bamboo poles, allowing crops to grow directly on water without any permanent soil base. Boat rowers stand on one leg to control the oar, a method that improves balance and gives better forward visibility in areas filled with dense aquatic plants. The lake covers about 45 square miles and has an average depth of around 7 feet, making it shallow enough for long-term stilt construction. The communities living on and around the lake are mainly Intha people, along with several ethnic groups, forming a rare water-based cultural space in Southeast Asia. Koh Phangan in Phang Nga Bay, Thailand, rises like a colorful floating maze built entirely on wooden stilts above deep open sea waters. The entire village foundation is supported by thousands of piles driven into the seabed, reaching a combined height far exceeding modern skyscrapers in major cities. Towering limestone cliffs, rising about 650 feet, stand directly beside the homes, forming a natural wall that dominates the entire settlement. A community of more than 1,600 residents lives completely without land, moving through narrow wooden walkways suspended above the water. The floating football field is constructed from weathered planks and rusted nails, serving as a training ground for children growing up in extreme maritime conditions. Daily life here is fully governed by tidal cycles, with every activity shifting according to the rising and falling of the surrounding sea. Danakil Depression in Ethiopia stands out with colorful mineral landscapes and constant geothermal activity, creating a rare and unusual surface unlike most places on Earth. Geothermal vents release mineral-rich hot water onto the surface, forming yellow, green, and orange crusts shaped by sulfur, iron, and salt deposits. These geothermal systems continuously push water and gases upward, reshaping the terrain and creating unstable mineral layers across the ground. The region appears unreal because a dry land contains acid pools, toxic gases, salt fields, and geothermal activity existing together at the same time. Caravans of camels move slowly across the salt flats, carrying heavy salt blocks and forming a traditional transport route through this extreme environment. For centuries, local people have manually extracted salt here, turning it into a vital resource for survival in this harsh landscape. In California, United States, Death Valley forms a vast basin below sea level where the ground absorbs heat and retains it for long periods. The surface here stretches across nearly 200 square miles of salt crust, formed after ancient water evaporated and left sharp mineral layers behind. The landscape shifts rapidly within short distances as cracked ground turns into moving sand and then connects into wide white salt fields without clear boundaries. Rare rainfall temporarily creates reflective water surfaces that quickly disappear and leave fresh mineral deposits covering the terrain. Human attempts to use resources in this region faced limits because of water scarcity, difficult transport, and environmental conditions that raised costs and reduced stability. In 1913, this valley recorded 134 degrees Fahrenheit, still considered one of the highest measured air temperatures on Earth. Norilsk is located 300 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle, where bone-chilling cold and long polar nights cover every corner of the city. The city is built on thick permafrost, where all buildings must stand on high pillars to prevent the heat from melting the frozen ground below. This is one of the coldest and windiest cities in the world, where winter temperatures can easily drop to -50 degrees Celsius regularly. Norilsk was founded in the 1930s as a harsh labor camp for workers who were forced to mine minerals in extremely difficult conditions. The sky here is often a murky yellow or leaden gray due to millions of tons of toxic emissions released every year from factory chimneys. Rivers around the city once turned red like blood after chemical leaks, making this place one of the harshest industrial zones on Earth. In Oymyakon, in the Sakha Republic of Russia, known as the coldest inhabited place on Earth, daily life begins with constant adjustment to a landscape that stays frozen most of the year. The lowest recorded temperature reached about -90 degrees Fahrenheit, making the air itself a factor that directly affects basic human activity outdoors. Vehicles must often remain running for long periods, because once engines cool completely, fuel systems and metal parts can freeze solid and stop working. The ground remains permanently frozen, so buildings are designed to stand above the surface to prevent heat from melting the soil below. Schools only close when temperatures fall below about -67 degrees Fahrenheit, showing that daily routines continue even under conditions many regions would consider extreme. Local residents rely on high-energy diets based on meat and fish, since natural conditions make crop farming almost impossible throughout the year. At Khumbu Icefall in the Everest region of Nepal, a massive glacier does not stay still but keeps sliding, turning the journey toward Mount Everest into a challenge from the very beginning. Each day, the ice can move about 3 feet, forcing climbers to constantly adjust as old paths twist and disappear in an unstable surface. Deep cracks that reach hundreds of feet open beneath the route, and climbers must cross them using metal ladders placed over empty space. Huge ice towers rise like multi-story buildings above the path, hanging in place while carrying the constant risk of sudden collapse. Most climbers move through this section before sunrise because increasing daylight weakens the ice and raises the chance of dangerous failures. The entire route must be rebuilt every season, since the moving glacier reshapes the terrain and erases previous tracks within a short period. Mount Nyiragongo in North Kivu, DR Congo, stands as one of the most dangerous death zones on the planet due to its incredibly complex geological structure. This mountain possesses the largest lava lake in the world, containing approximately 264 million cubic feet of molten rock, constantly boiling inside the crater. The lava here has a low silica content, which helps it reach an astonishing flow speed of up to 60 miles per hour as soon as it escapes. With this velocity, the flow easily destroys all obstacles and makes it nearly impossible for humans to escape without motorized assistance. In addition to the red fire, this area accumulates dense concentrations of carbon dioxide gas in deep hollows, causing organisms to die quickly from lack of oxygen. Sudden eruptions throughout history have wiped out many residential areas and forced hundreds of thousands of people to evacuate to save their lives. Komodo Island in East Nusa Tenggara, Indonesia, is an isolated land full of danger where giant reptiles with prehistoric shapes rule supreme. On this island, giant dragons reaching a length of 10 feet and weighing over 150 pounds are ready to attack any creature that intrudes. They possess a bite, carrying venom, that paralyzes the circulatory system, causing the prey to die from massive blood loss and extreme anaphylactic shock. With the ability to smell blood from a distance of 6 miles, These cold-blooded killers silently stalk their targets until the victims finally collapse. The landscape of Komodo Island is characterized by arid savanna hills and steep terrain that makes it very difficult for humans to find a safe hiding place. The harsh ecosystem and brutal hunting habits turn this island into one of the most dangerous and inaccessible areas on the planet. On Flores Island in Indonesia, Way Ribo village appears as a cluster of isolated cone-shaped houses hidden deep within mountains, where reaching it already demands real physical effort. To arrive here, visitors must walk for several hours through steep forest terrain, turning the journey itself into a clear endurance test rather than a simple trip. The village contains 7 tall, cone-shaped houses, each structure functioning both as a shared living space and a communal environment for multiple families. Located at about 3,800 feet above sea level, the settlement is often covered by thick mist, causing buildings to appear and disappear throughout the day. From above, the circular layout surrounded by dense forest creates a controlled spatial pattern that feels completely separated from any sign of modern development. In 2012, the community restored the full traditional layout and received UNESCO recognition, marking one of the rare cases where a living architectural system remains intact. Mae Kampong, located in the Mae On district of Chiang Mai province, is an ancient village tucked away in the steep valleys of northern Thailand's mountains. In this place, humans build their lives on cliffs with slopes reaching up to 30 degrees, creating a remarkably treacherous infrastructure. Centuries-old wooden houses are anchored deep into the rocky ground to withstand extreme landslides during the monsoon flood season. The village sits at an elevation of about 4,265 feet above sea level, where dense jungles and mist make access very difficult. The locals established their own hydroelectric system to harness energy from the steep streams, providing power for all 130 households. This isolated terrain forces residents to maintain a self-sufficient lifestyle and strictly preserve the surrounding primary forest ecosystem. Korowai tribe villages in Papua, Indonesia present a world where people live high in trees within dense rainforest, almost completely separated from modern systems. These houses are built at heights of about 100 to 150 feet above ground, requiring daily climbing using simple wooden ladders. Reaching this area does not follow common travel routes, because visitors must move through wet forest terrain where mud and thick vegetation extend the journey for several days. The environment forms natural vertical layers with dark, damp ground below, while the upper canopy becomes the main living space for the community. All building materials come directly from the forest, including wood vines and leaves, allowing structures to exist in humid conditions without modern tools. Research records show the population is around 4,000 people, who maintain their own language and survival system connected closely with the forest across generations. The Mentawai Islands, located about 93 miles off the coast of West Sumatra, are among the most isolated and dangerous lands on the planet today. This place possesses the world's oldest tattooing culture, with intricate designs covering the entire body to connect with spirits. Powerful shamans here frequently use weapons such as bows and arrows dipped in toxic tree resin, capable of taking down large prey. This area sits right on the Pacific Ring of Fire and endured devastating tsunami waves reaching 10 feet high in 2010. An ecosystem separated for 500,000 years has turned the Mentawai region into a natural fortress full of risks and extreme difficulty to access. Drakensberg Traverse in South Africa unfolds as a dramatic expedition across a colossal rock wall, where jagged peaks rise like spear tips cutting into the sky. At the start of the route, explorers must climb vertical iron rope ladders about 100 feet high, fixed directly onto lifeless cliff faces. In the central section, sheer rock walls rise over 3,200 feet, a height capable of containing multiple major financial skyscrapers stacked together. The entire route has no signage or marked trail, forcing travelers to navigate independently through dense and confusing cliff formations. Waterfalls drop from extreme heights and are often blown upward by strong winds, forming misty curtains that drift like floating spirits above the mountains. The sound of rolling stones echoing into unseen depths serves as a constant warning of how fragile human survival is on this basalt terrain. Located in eastern Java, Indonesia, the Kawah Ijen volcano stands as one of the most dangerous and extreme geological zones on our entire planet. This landmark is famous for a massive acid lake holding about 1.3 billion cubic feet of toxic liquid capable of dissolving metal. The water has a pH level of 0.5, which is similar to battery acid and causes severe chemical burns upon any contact. Burning sulfur gases here create a mysterious blue fire while releasing dense concentrations of deadly toxins into the surrounding air. Local miners must carry heavy sulfur loads, weighing between 155 and 198 pounds through severe oxygen deprivation. This toxic environment makes Kawaijen a place where survival is difficult and vibrant natural beauty exists alongside constant mortal danger. Located 300 meters deep beneath the state of Chihuahua in Mexico is Nika Cave, home to some of the world's largest and most magnificent gypsum crystals. This is where the planet's most massive crystals reside, with record lengths of over 11 meters, creating a surreal and otherworldly scene for any brave explorer. Sharp selenite crystals, like razor blades, intertwine with each other, forming deadly traps that block any footsteps attempting to go deeper into the dark and mysterious cave. The narrow cave space filled with boiling hot steam makes anyone entering feel like they are standing in the middle of a literal hellish smelting furnace. With extreme temperatures reaching nearly 60 degrees Celsius, the human body will quickly and completely collapse after only a few minutes of direct exposure to the air. Huge heat from an underground magma chamber beneath the cave is the main energy source that has nourished these crystals to grow for 500,000 years. The Catacombs of Paris is a complex network of tunnels stretching for hundreds of kilometers deep beneath the surface of the City of Light. Known as the Empire of Death, this place is the final resting place of over 6 million human remains collected from cemeteries across the entire city. The entrance is named the Gateway of Hell, a haunting name that serves as a cold warning about the terrifying atmosphere waiting for you below. The walls here are meticulously built from millions of human skulls and femurs stacked together to form haunting and bone-chilling structures in the dark. Being built on hollow limestone foundations also makes many areas in Paris face the constant and dangerous threat of sudden and unpredictable sinkholes. With the temperature always staying at 14 degrees Celsius, this gloomy space provides a shivering feeling that cannot be found anywhere else in the world. Poveglia is a small island located in the Venetian lagoon that carries a very dark history and is filled with many truly terrifying and ancient horrors. More than 50% of the surface soil on the island is believed to be composed entirely of human bone ash from mass plague victim cremations. This dead land still carries remnants of ancient plagues, making it a forbidden place for any normal life or any regular human activities or presence. The ancient bell tower, standing tall among the ruined buildings, is the most iconic image for the death and solitude found on the island of Poveglia. Poveglia is an extreme symbol of a spiritual danger zone where human fear is more powerful than any other physical or biological factor found here. Shark Alley in Western Cape, South Africa, reveals a marine zone where great white sharks gather in high numbers, forming a clear hunting corridor across open ocean waters. Visitors can observe sharks from just a few feet away, while inside steel cages, where the boundary between safety and natural danger becomes extremely narrow. Great white sharks in this area can reach lengths of about 18 feet and show strong burst speed when approaching prey near the surface. What happens beneath the calm-looking sea when every small movement connects directly to hunting strategies and survival behavior of top marine predators? The setting contains no built structures, only open water currents and wildlife, making every experience depend fully on changing natural conditions. Recent studies report changes in shark numbers in the region, showing that this ecosystem remains dynamic and does not stay stable over time. Few people realize that Damnoen Saduak in Ratchaburi Province, Thailand, is a massive man-made water labyrinth constructed entirely by human labor since the 19th century. This system features the straightest canal in the nation, with a length of 20 miles, connecting two major rivers for trade purposes. The landscape here is extremely unusual, as the entire lives of thousands of residents depend on stilt houses built on wooden poles. Slender wooden boats become the only survival vehicle helping people move and trade goods directly on the deep water surface. Potential danger comes from boats equipped with modified car engines, having sharp propellers and 7-feet-long lizards lurking nearby. This location has become a symbol of extreme adaptation by turning a tangled canal area into a bustling commercial center. Located at the foot of Dragon Mountain in Lungku Commune, Dongvan District, Hà Province, Lo Lo Chai appears as an isolated ancient village in the harsh limestone plateau of northern Vietnam. Thick mud walls, about 2 feet wide, form a natural protective layer that has helped the houses remain stable for more than a century. Local residents carry baskets of soil to fill sharp limestone crevices in order to create thin, fertile pockets for growing corn on the barren, rocky surface. Jagged limestone formations surround the entire settlement, making the village feel like an isolated oasis, completely separated from modern urban life. The population here is only about 1,000 people, roughly 1/10 of the full capacity of My Dinh Stadium, when completely filled with spectators. Stone fences stacked without any binding material have remained standing for generations, enclosing traditional yin-yang roof houses in a quiet and timeless landscape. Kampong Ayer, in the capital of Brunei, appears as a city that never touches land, where homes, pathways, and daily life are built entirely above the river. This place operates through a unique water transport system, where motorboats replace roads and long wooden walkways connect homes into a continuous living network. Covering about 4 square miles, this settlement is large enough to function as a real city, where public services continue to operate fully on water. The living environment shifts with the tides as rising and falling water changes how height, distance, and stability are experienced by residents. For more than 1,000 years, this community has maintained a stable structure, using wooden materials and deep stilts to stand firmly on soft river ground. From above, the entire area looks like a dense floating network, where constant boat movement replaces road traffic and shapes a rhythm independent from land. Cahill's crossing over the East Alligator River is the only gateway connecting Kakadu National Park with the remote Arnhem Land. This low causeway can only be crossed safely when the tide is low and the water level is under half a meter. The narrow concrete strip sits exposed in murky waters, surrounded by mangrove forests and mudflats infested with crocodiles. As the tide rises, dozens of crocodiles wait right at the road's edge, creating a terrifying and daily spectacle. In 1987, a man was tragically attacked and killed by a crocodile while attempting to walk across this crossing. It remains Australia's most heart-stopping tourist spot, attracting thousands to witness these predators hunting during the dry season. La Rinconada is located at an altitude of about 5,100 meters above sea level on the Anania mountain slopes of the Peruvian Andes. This is the highest permanent settlement on Earth, where the oxygen concentration is only about 50% compared to the levels found at sea level. The city appears to you as a mess of temporary shacks made of tin and wood, perched precariously on the snowy and dangerous mountain cliffs. Domestic waste and mine tailings form streams of murky yellow mud that flow directly down the slopes throughout this extremely poor and crowded city. The atmosphere is always heavy with the smell of mercury and chemicals from the manual gold extraction process, which directly harms your entire respiratory system. Mercury is used extensively to separate gold, polluting the water and soil, and even spreading to the nearby Lake Titicaca in the surrounding high region. The Yungas Road in Bolivia clings to the edge of steep mountains as a deadly ribbon, where about 300 people each year lose their lives in deep canyon accidents. The route drops nearly 11,500 feet in elevation, equivalent to descending from the height of several of the tallest skyscrapers on Earth. Many sections are only about 10 feet wide, with loose gravel surfaces, forcing vehicles to drive dangerously close to cliffs plunging almost 2,000 feet below. Waterfalls cascade directly over the roadway, creating white curtains that completely block visibility around sharp mountain bends. Small wooden crosses line the roadside, marking locations where vehicles once fell into the abyss and never returned. At the bottom of the valley, rusted wrecks remain scattered across green terrain, serving as silent evidence of the road's extreme danger. Aizai Winding Road in Hunan Province of China is an extreme engineering landmark, with 13 tightly stacked hairpin turns carved directly into a vertical cliff face. The road clings to steep limestone slopes with an elevation difference close to half the height of the world's tallest skyscrapers. During the 7-month construction period, the extremely dangerous terrain caused repeated fatal accidents among workers along every short completed section. The layered zigzag structure places road segments so close together that vehicles on upper levels pass directly above traffic on lower levels. Thin safety barriers are the only protection separating moving cars from deep vertical drops, often hidden by dense mountain fog. Objects falling from the summit can pass across multiple road layers before reaching the green valley floor far below. Boscalan is located in the Kalinga province of the Philippines, serving as an isolated natural fortress perched atop the Cordillera Mountains at an altitude of over 5,000 feet. This destination is terrifying due to the fierce history of headhunting warriors, where intricate tattoos on the skin served as lethal medals of honor. To reach this place, you must traverse vertical cliffs stretching for miles while riding on primitive transportation that offers extreme risks to your safety. The Batok tattooing art here uses sharp thorns from pomelo trees to pierce the skin at a staggering speed of 100 strikes per minute. The crude tattoo ink mixture, made from wood charcoal soot, poses a serious risk of severe infection for those with weak immune systems. The combination of rugged terrain and strict customary laws transforms this land into one of the most difficult regions to access on the entire planet. Lanying Canyon Road in Chongqing, China is a dramatic stone corridor carved by hand that clings tightly to a vertical cliff face high above the valley floor. In many sections, the roadway is only about 7 feet wide, turning every vehicle passage into a high-risk maneuver suspended above open space. The surrounding cliff rises nearly 3,000 feet, a height comparable to stacking several major financial skyscrapers on top of each other. Local villagers spent over 4 years chiseling through solid rock using basic tools to break the isolation of their remote mountain settlement. Natural openings in the cliff wall expose deep views into the canyon below, where no protective barriers exist between travelers and the void. Rough stone surfaces still carry visible chisel marks, and the sound of tires rolling across them echoes the fragility of life on this extreme route. The Chernobyl exclusion zone in Kyiv Oblast is a strictly restricted area covering 1,000 square miles after the most catastrophic nuclear reactor explosion in history. This disaster released a volume of toxic radioactive fallout 400 times greater than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima in 1945. The presence of persistent isotopes ensures that toxin levels remain dangerous, preventing human habitation for 20,000 years. Wild nature has begun to aggressively encroach upon and cover all old concrete structures with thick layers of radioactive vegetation. Animals in this land are forced to adapt to survive in an environment filled with particles that cause genetic cell mutations. This area has become a giant experiment on the resilient power of the ecosystem when completely devoid of any human intervention. Ilha da Queima da Grande, off the coast of Brazil, is known as the only place in the world where a dense population of golden lancehead snakes exists within a very limited area. The island sits about 21 miles from the mainland, but long isolation over thousands of years created a unique ecosystem where one predator dominates completely. Covering around 100 acres, this environment once supported thousands of snakes, creating an unusually high concentration of dangerous wildlife within a limited space. Dense forest, steep rocks, and heavy vegetation make movement difficult, while snakes can appear across nearly every part of the ground surface. The species adapted to hunting birds because limited food sources forced changes in behavior compared with related snakes found on the mainland. Access to the island is strictly controlled, so most of its surface remains untouched, with conditions where long-term human presence is nearly impossible. Hidden within the northern mountains of the Philippines, Sagada appears as a place where hanging coffins suspended on cliffs create a striking and unforgettable visual experience. Here, the dead are not buried underground, but placed on steep rock ledges, making every step forward feel like entering a suspended layer of memory. The limestone terrain forms deep caves and narrow passages, forcing explorers to lower their bodies, move through darkness, and understand the landscape through physical movement. Some coffins have remained attached to the rock for hundreds of years, holding their original positions without any modern structural support or foundation. In Nicaragua, the Masaya volcano is a deadly geological complex, globally famous for its terrifying reputation as a direct gateway leading to the underworld. This landmark possesses a permanent open lava lake, an extremely rare feature found at only 8 locations across the entire world. The crater continuously releases massive columns of sulfur dioxide gas, creating high-concentration acid rainstorms capable of powerfully eroding all matter. Ancient lava flows here, once stretched for 12 miles, completely incinerating life and transforming the surrounding land into a toxic desert. Despite the danger, Masaya remains the most extreme point on the planet where you can drive a vehicle right to the edge to observe the blood of the Earth. Within Iran, Lut Desert exists as a continuously heated landscape where space-based measurements have recorded some of the highest temperatures ever detected on the planet. Lut Desert was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2016 due to its remarkable geomorphology and rare hot desert conditions. Extended Yardang formations align in parallel lines, created through wind erosion processes that give the surface a clearly organized structural pattern. NASA observations indicate surface temperatures reaching nearly 160 degrees Fahrenheit, requiring travel timing to be carefully planned to avoid rapid physical exhaustion. Movement across this wide and featureless terrain requires careful navigation, as the absence of clear landmarks forces reliance on preparation and directional awareness. Lut Desert demonstrates that deserts are not empty spaces, but environments where climate, wind, and geological processes leave lasting physical records over time. The Sundarbans, located on the border of India and Bangladesh, is a massive mangrove labyrinth with deadly hazards always lurking for any daring travelers. This region covers approximately 4,000 square miles and holds the world record as the largest single block of mangrove ecosystem on the planet. It is the only territory where Bengal tigers have evolved to swim continuously for 18 miles across fierce rivers to hunt their prey. These tigers are famous for their habit of viewing humans as a natural food source, causing dozens of deaths every year in this area. Beneath the murky waters, giant saltwater crocodiles, measuring 23 feet long, are always ready to launch lightning strikes against anyone nearby. Sharp roots growing upward from the mud, combined with tides rising 10 feet high, create an extremely harsh and dangerous natural trap. Deeply hidden within the rugged mountain ranges of Banten province in Indonesia, Baduy village is a forbidden land that exists completely separated from modern civilization. The indigenous community here has maintained a stoic lifestyle for over 400 years by refusing any intervention from human technology. Across an area of approximately 12,600 acres, you will not find any trace of power grids, telecommunication signals, or mechanical machinery. The houses and suspension bridges here are constructed entirely from bamboo and rattan, without using a single iron nail or any metal materials. These strict laws aim to protect the absolute purity of the water and land, turning this place into the most primitive survival zone in the world. Fraser Island, located off the coast of Queensland in Australia, conceals deadly traps behind the magnificent beauty of the largest sand island on the planet. This strange landmark possesses tropical rainforest systems over 650 feet high, growing directly on sand, creating rugged and extremely difficult terrain to navigate. The waters surrounding the island are the territory of great white sharks and irukandji jellyfish, carrying toxins that cause acute heart failure in a short time. Massive sand dunes here constantly shift about 33 feet every year, capable of completely burying all traces of human survival. Purebred dingoes on the island frequently stalk tourists and are ready to attack, causing casualties if they do not have proper coping skills. Medical rescue in this isolated land usually takes more than 45 minutes, making bites from venomous snakes or jellyfish a death sentence. In the rugged mountains of Luzon, Philippines, the Ifugao rice terrace villages stand as a massive stone labyrinth that challenges every limit of human survival. These stone walls, reaching up to 20 feet high, were built entirely by hand, clinging to extreme mountain slopes with inclines of 70 degrees. The total length of this wall system reaches an astonishing 12,500 miles, enough to wrap halfway around the Earth. The mortarless stone structures put the entire area at constant risk of massive collapse when water pressure from the terrace levels increases. Just one small mistake in controlling the flow can turn these terraces into a flash flood, sweeping away every trace of life. This treacherous terrain forces residents to move along narrow stone edges less than 12 inches wide between mountain walls and deep abysses. Located on the coastal region of Japan, the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant became the center of a catastrophic nuclear disaster that shocked the entire world. In this exclusion zone, radiation monitoring devices continuously emit warning signals across an atmosphere of silence and long-lasting contamination. More than 1 million tons of radioactive water are stored in thousands of steel tanks, forming a vast industrial maze surrounding damaged reactor cores. The powerful earthquake released enough energy to shift Japan's main island roughly 6 feet eastward along the tectonic boundary. Elephant Kingdom is not only a place for elephants, but also a massive crocodile farm, with about 80,000 crocodiles living in large artificial lakes and ponds. This is the largest crocodile farm in Thailand, where an extremely high density of crocodiles creates a forced, natural hunting environment for thousands of individual animals. This location is in Chonburi province near Pattaya, which is a major tourism hub in Thailand, constantly searching for unique and strange models to attract many visitors. The image of hundreds of crocodile heads rising above the water to surround your raft is a terrifying scene that regularly happens at this dangerous place. The owner of this kingdom once challenged reporters that if anyone could prove the raft was unsafe, he would reward them 5 million baht immediately. Elephant Kingdom is a strong warning about playing with death just to get some shocking photos to post on various social media platforms for attention. What if you suddenly vanished in the middle of the ocean without leaving any trace, just like the victims lost, within the terrifying and mysterious Bermuda Triangle? This sea area covers a vast surface located between Miami, Florida, the island of Bermuda, and San Juan, Puerto Rico, creating a very famous and dangerous zone. A fleet of 5 U.S. Navy bombers disappeared without leaving any single trace in 1945 during what should have been a routine and simple training mission. Authors in the 20th century linked this triangle to supernatural theories, from the lost city of Atlantis to hidden activities involving aliens and extraterrestrial beings from space. Shallow waters around coral reefs create sudden color changes that easily disorient ship captains and pilots, making them lose their way inside these beautiful but deadly waters. Modern research from global agencies indicates that there is no scientific evidence of any unusual phenomena compared to other busy maritime regions across the entire world today. Mount Washington is the highest peak in the Presidential Range, with an elevation of 1,917 meters, located in the New Hampshire region. It possesses a harsh tundra climate all year round, with some of the strongest wind speeds ever recorded on the planet, regardless of the current season. The auto road to the summit stands as one of the oldest and most dangerous technical engineering routes in the entire United States, with extreme slopes. Freezing fog frequently covers the summit, reducing visibility to zero and creating extreme danger for every driver and climber who dares to reach the top. The steep cliffs of Tuckerman Ravine remain a deadly obsession for professional skiers due to frequent and unpredictable avalanche risks occurring throughout the winter months. More than 160 people have died here from sudden hypothermia or being trapped inside violent and unpredicted blizzards over many decades of record keeping. In the open ocean off Belize, Great Blue Hole appears as a deep blue circle, where the sea surface suddenly gives way to an ancient, hidden depth. When descending, divers do not enter a typical reef, but move along near vertical rock walls that lead into a submerged cave system. This sinkhole measures about 1,000 feet wide and 400 feet deep, forming a space that feels almost separate from the shallow marine environment around it. Great Blue Hole is not a bottomless pit as often believed, but a defined sinkhole where limestone, sediment, and low oxygen water create its unique structure. At around 300 feet, a low oxygen layer appears, changing survival conditions and isolating the deeper zone from the ecosystem above. From above, the pale surrounding water contrasts sharply with the dark center, creating the impression that the ocean drops into a vast open void. In Central Africa, the Congo River stretches like a massive water band surrounded by dense rainforest, where strong currents and thick landscapes create a sense of isolation. This river stretches about 2,900 miles and has a vast drainage basin that strongly influences climate and ecosystems across the region. Its depth can exceed 700 feet, creating layered water flows that behave very differently compared to most rivers worldwide. Thick rainforest lines both banks, where sunlight rarely reaches the ground, forming a humid and continuous natural environment with little interruption. The water often appears dark due to sediments and organic material, making the surface seem heavy and limiting visibility below. Scientific studies have identified hundreds of new species in this basin, showing that the ecosystem is still being explored and not fully understood today. Madidi National Park in northern Bolivia is one of the most biodiverse and dangerous regions on the entire planet. This destination stretches from peaks at 19,000 feet down to the rainforest, providing a habitat for over 1,000 bird species. Insects in this area pose a massive threat, as the bullet ant possesses a sting that causes intense pain for 24 hours. Local plants are equally formidable, with the sandbox tree capable of shooting seeds at speeds of up to 160 miles per hour. Reptiles and predators hiding beneath the dense forest canopy are always ready to attack anyone who enters this territory. The combination of rugged terrain and a high density of toxic organisms has turned Madidi into a forbidden zone that is difficult to conquer. Located in the Arusha region of Tanzania, Lake Natron is a hauntingly beautiful red expanse that possesses the power to destroy almost any biological life. The pH level here reaches a record 10.5, which is equivalent to liquid bleach, and can cause immediate chemical burns to human skin. This extreme alkalinity acts as a natural preservative, transforming the remains of fallen animals into eerie calcified statues frozen in time. Despite these lethal conditions, the lake serves as a sanctuary for 75% of the global lesser flamingo population due to their unique physical adaptations. Stretching 35 miles long, this caustic environment creates a deadly maze of salt and minerals that remains nearly impossible for humans to navigate. The dense combination of sodium carbonate and salt-loving bacteria makes this the most corrosive body of water found anywhere on our planet. Mount Merapi, standing tall on the border of central Java and Yogyakarta, is one of the most dangerous areas in Indonesia due to its continuous activity. This landmark is globally famous for pyroclastic flows moving as fast as 70 miles per hour, ready to incinerate any living creature in their path. The stratovolcano structure creates giant lava domes that cause extreme pressure explosions instead of typical overflowing flows. During violent eruptions, glowing red rock fragments the size of a truck can be projected as far as 2 miles away. The extreme danger zone expands within a radius of 12 miles, making this area a place with incredibly harsh survival conditions. The grey landscape, resembling the lunar surface with thick ash layers, has turned Mount Merapi into a symbol of destructive geological power. The Kolyma Highway in Siberia, Russia, is a deadly route stretching about 1,200 miles, built over the remains of hundreds of thousands of forced labor prisoners. Permafrost permanently covers the ground, making metal brittle like glass, so that even minor impacts can cause structural failure in vehicles and infrastructure. In summer, thawing ice turns the road into thick black mud, capable of trapping heavy trucks and cutting off all transportation for long periods. Drivers must keep engines running continuously because engine oil can freeze solid in extreme cold, preventing any chance of restarting the vehicle. The Poison Garden at Alnwick was established in 2005 by the Duchess of Northumberland, with the intention of educating people about death. There are currently about 100 species of highly toxic or addictive plants being carefully grown inside strong iron cages to protect you from danger. This garden was inspired by the poison gardens of the Medici family in Renaissance Italy, where deadly poisons were used to eliminate their enemies. The flower beds in the garden are designed in the shape of flickering flames, symbolizing the terrible destruction and the inevitable death of every human. Right at the entrance are black iron gates with the skull and crossbones symbol and a terrifying warning sign stating that these plants can kill you. The air inside is often thick with a heavy herbal scent, which sometimes makes you feel dizzy and faint, even without touching anything at all. Pangar Fort is located in Alwar district of Rajasthan state, right at the edge of Sariska Nature Reserve and surrounded by the majestic Aravalli Hills range. Your feeling of unease is often partly explained by the hauntingly quiet atmosphere and the complete isolation from the modern civilized world outside this ancient place. The fort was built in the early 17th century in 1631 during the reign of Raja Bhagwant Das for his second son, Madho Singh. The temples inside the fort have sophisticated designs, but most are now ruined with broken domes that create a very mysterious and hauntingly dark atmosphere. Stories about the curse of monk Guru Balu Nath, who demanded the fort shadow never touch his meditation place, have become the soul of this site. The fort is evidence of the collapse of an empire where death and time seem to have stopped completely during the middle of the 18th century. Mount Sinabung in North Sumatra, Indonesia, shocked the entire world when it suddenly woke up in 2010 after a long sleep lasting 400 years. This location quickly became one of the most dangerous zones on the planet, with continuous eruptions occurring throughout the decade. Terrifying pyroclastic flows can rush down the mountain slopes at a terrifying speed of up to 450 miles per hour, wiping out all traces of life. Giant ash columns from the crater are frequently pushed up to a height of 16,000 feet, creating a layer of fine dust covering the entire landscape. The presence of toxic chemicals and rock debris turns the land around here into a grey desert, making it completely uninhabitable. The government had to establish a strict exclusion zone within a radius of 4.3 miles to protect people from the unpredictable, destructive power.